Are you looking at that big ride or finally getting your own place but telling yourself,
someday?
Well, make someday today.
Good morning, and indeed that is our advice to you. Buy savings bonds as a lucrative, safe investment with the removal of the minimum deposit rate. Good day, welcome to our studio audience and our online viewers. I am Noveline Brewster, Public Affairs Officer of the Central Bank of Barbados, and I am pleased to join Governor Dr. Delal Worrell, the Senior Operations Officer, Banking, Currency and Investments Department, Linnell Franklin, and of course the rest of the CBB family to reintroduce the savings bonds product to you. Yes, reintroduce, because savings bonds have existed since 1980, and our recent research revealed that many Barbadians, especially the young ones like myself, were either not familiar with the intricacies of the instrument or unaware that they existed. We have our expert in savings bonds, Linnell Franklin, to say more about how these instruments work, and equally as important, the significant enhancements that we have made to the product in our rebranding. Before Linnell commences her presentation, I encourage you to pay special attention once again, because two persons in our audience, yes, two persons, someone from the media and a guest in our studio audience, will either become a new investor or see his or her holdings increase by $500. And of course, that's the nominal value. The first person from the media and our invited guests to respond correctly to 3 questions based on the information you will be hearing in a few minutes will be the winners of our instruments. During this ceremony, you will receive a questionnaire and you will have about a minute and a half to respond to the 3 questions. We'll get back to that quiz. First, let's hear from Linnell. Join me in welcoming Linnell to the turn.
And a pleasant good morning to all of you. I'm Linnell Franklin, and my job is to explain in a capsule what are savings bonds, why you should buy them, where can you get them, and how they work. Savings bonds are safe, secure, liquid investments that will help you meet your personal and financial goals. And there are excellent alternatives to a savings account, especially now that the minimum savings rate has been removed. And we here at the Central Bank are not saying this alone, because hear what Jennifer, a 61-year-old bondholder of 15 years, have said. And she said, "To me, savings bonds are the safest way of investing, especially now in these difficult economic times." And that's not our quote. So what should you know? Today we are not launching a new product, but we are rebranding an old one after 35 years. And even if you had bought a Rolls Royce then, I believe by now it would become an estate item, and if you really want to drive around, you'll either have to do some maintenance or buy a new one. So savings bonds were around for approximately 35 years. They were enacted by the 1980 Savings Bonds Act, but the actual first series did not come on stream until November of 1981. And any Barbadian can buy a savings bond, and most of the bondholders we have been around with us from the first series. And I told you that they are not new, because this next series that we are going to launch, which the governor will launch later today, or later in this presentation, is our 75th, yes, our 75th issue. So what really are savings bonds? Savings bonds are 5-year instruments sold at discount. And what does that mean? It means that you pay less for them, than what you get at the end of the 5 years, or the nominal value on the face of the bonds. And the issue coming up on stream, you're going to pay $76.24 for every $100 you buy, which means that in 5 years, you'll gain, your capital gain on your investment will be $23.76. Put another way, if you spend $3,812, you'll receive $5,000 in 5 years' time. So what's so great about savings bonds? They are offering an attractive return. This new series, 5.5%. And that interest is tax-free. They're very liquid, meaning you can cash them in at any time without hassle. If you have them for more than a year, you'll still get the interest. Of course, you won't get the face value, but you'll get the interest that has accrued to the point you can cash them. And if you buy savings bonds with your refunded pensions contributions, you won't pay withholding tax on the lump sum. So what's new with savings bonds? Why have we rebranded? Why are we seeking to rebrand them? Since 1984, the limit has been $50,000. And that was $15,000 per individuals, because savings bonds are instruments that are available to the working class Barbadians, so they can benefit from the tax-free incentive on the interest. We have increased that now to $100,000 per individual per series. Who else can buy savings bonds? Benevolent organizations and other bodies of person included in that are exempted from income tax under the Income Tax Act, Cap 73. And those include friendly societies. They too can buy $100,000 now in the issue. You can also purchase them for your minor children under 18 years old. And we see this as a very good opportunity for parents and guardians who satisfy the central bank that they are in a position that they are the proper person to act on behalf of the minor, can invest them to look after future educations. Now that seems to be becoming a problem. And we have got rid of the anomaly where previously $50,000 could be bought by an individual. But if you wanted to buy them jointly by two persons, you could only buy $50,000 as well. Now we have increased that limit to $50,000, $100,000 each, which would be $200,000 jointly. And we have gotten away with all those certificates. So those who are investing, we knew that we issued them in denominations starting at $100, $200, $500, $1,000, and $5,000. So if you bought the maximum in the series previously of $50,000, the minimum certificates you got, the minimum certificates were 10. So we could imagine if you went to 1,000 and you got $1,000 denominations, you had a one big pile. We have changed that up, and we are issuing one certificate per purchase, not per issue. You might want to purchase more than once in the issue. And then how do savings bonds work? A notice will be put in the paper. We are going to rebrand the notice. We always put a notice in the paper, but it was somehow, somewhere in the classifieds ads, and it seems that people never saw it. It's going to jump out at you, I'm sure. And we're going to be using the social media. We're going to put it on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, because we are appealing to the young to start saving. That's what it is, a savings bond. And you can purchase, so once you see that ad, you can go to your commercial banks, because the commercial banks on the act are the authorized agents of savings bonds. And we have been having some feedbacks from other financial people about selling bonds, but as it is today, the persons who are the official agents are commercial banks, because they are in the act, registered under the Banking Act. And once you have bought them and you've paid for them, you can surrender them or redeem them at the bank. Surrender, that's if you had an emergency, because again, we are urging you to keep them to maturity. But if you had a maturity, an urgency, an emergency, you can encash them. And once 1 year has passed, you start seeing gains on your investments. Or then you can redeem them in 5 years at your commercial bank for the full face value. And the surrender value will be based on how long you keep them, of course, 1 year or more. And that will be on the back of the bonds, the surrender tables. And in case you do that and do not surrender part of them and still keep part, we'll issue with a balance certificate for the remainder. But we are urging you to keep them to maturity and gain the full value of them. So what should you remember? You should remember that savings bonds are safe and they're lucrative, and that they help you to meet your financial goals. You can also cash them in at any time if you have an emergency. And if you are a Barbadian, living in Barbados or in the diaspora, you can buy savings bonds. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Linnell, for that very comprehensive report on savings bonds and how they work. I have been investing in savings bonds for a few years, thanks to Linnell, who encouraged me. I'm definitely not as big an investor as my boss, the governor, who has been buying savings bonds from the very first issue in the early 1980s. But I'm an investor nevertheless. He will now explain how he and his wife have used savings bonds to meet many of their financial goals. And he will also tell you the size of the first tranche and the issue date, while elaborating on some of the things that Linnell had to say. Dr. Worrell?
Thank you. You want me to sit here or stand over there?
Right where you are.
Thank you very much. The Barbados Savings Bond has long been one of the best kept secrets of our financial system. In my view, every Barbadian should have savings bonds, because everyone should have a little savings set aside to cover life's contingencies. There is no better vehicle for such rainy day savings than the savings bond. If nothing unexpected turns up and you hold your bonds for the full 5 years, you will earn $100 for an investment of $76.24, as Linnell told you. However, if you do need cash in the period before the bond matures, you can cash the whole bond or any portion thereof at any time. Naturally, early encashment comes with a lower return than if you held the bond until it matures, but you will always get more than you put in so long as you hold the bond for more than a year. The savings bond is also a nice way to save for a long-term goal, such as a down payment for the purchase of a house or a car, or the tertiary education of your children. Savings bonds are a good way to get children started in cultivating habits of saving that will serve them well in later years. The savings bond is every bit as convenient as a savings account at the commercial bank. You can buy savings bonds from commercial bank tellers, and the banks will encash them for you at maturity or whenever you happen to need cash for some special purpose. This makes bonds as liquid as a savings deposit or a checking account. I am pleased to announce a new $10 million issue of savings bonds on June 1st. With this issue, the central bank is introducing a number of improved arrangements. The most important is that individual holders may now buy up to $100,000 of bonds of any one issue. And as Linnell said, for joint holdings, that is, the limit is $200,000. This upper limit ensures that the bonds reach the main target for which they are intended, namely small and medium savers. It has also been agreed to issue new series of bonds as supplies of available bonds are depleted, so that there will be no shortage of bonds for purchase at any time. I must tell you that I am myself a satisfied customer of long standing. My father instilled savings habits in his children's minds very early. His motto was, earn a dollar, save a shilling. Since savings bonds were introduced, they have been my preferred vehicle for savings. Whenever I did not need funds after 5 years when the bonds came due, I simply bought more bonds. From time to time, I was able to encash bonds to fund home maintenance and other needs. The savings bond is for everyone, even if you don't have a lot to invest. You can buy as little as $50, which will cost you $38.12. A more practical approach is to invest your meeting turn, as some people have done, which gives you a nice increase on your investment after 5 years. As an alternative, you might accumulate savings with a bank or credit union and buy bonds periodically. Savings bonds are also good for investing tax refunds, bonuses, or any extra income that comes your way from time to time. The financial system in Barbados offers a wide range of financial services and financial instruments for the varying needs of our society. Savings bonds complements the choices available to individuals from banks, insurance companies, mutual funds, and credit unions, as well as longer-term government bonds, treasury notes, and shares issued or traded on the Barbados Securities Exchange. Everyone may choose from this range of services depending on their need, their financial sophistication, and the amount they have to invest. For most of us, savings bonds are a safe, simple, and convenient place to start. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Dr. Worrell. And now in a capsule, why should we buy savings bonds? We should buy savings bonds because they are safe, secure, liquid investments. We should buy savings bonds because they offer perhaps the best interest rate, 5.5% if held to maturity, which is 5 years. We should buy savings bonds because we can cash them in at any time and we will receive our initial investment plus the interest accrued up to that point. We should buy savings bonds because they are as easy to manage as that savings account. We should buy savings bonds because we can invest as little as $50 or as much as $100,000. Sorry, I don't have that amount of money. So per issue if you are an individual holder, or $200,000 if we are buying with someone. We should buy savings bonds because they are designed to help the small saver like you and me meet our financial goals. And finally, when can we make our first purchase for 2015, in a matter of days, June the 1st. And now to your questions. Remember to speak into the microphone and to identify yourselves. But before we get to the questions, remember that we have that quiz involving the media as well as our in-house studio audience. You have 3 questions to answer, and the first 2 correct names to be drawn will be the winners of $500, and of course in savings bonds, that is the nominal value of the bond. So go ahead and fill out those questionnaires, and good luck to everyone. And as we complete your forms, ask your questions. I now invite the first question. We have a question here from Marlon.
Yes, I'm Marlon Madden, Barbados today. I'm curious as to when was the last issue and what was the interest rate then?
Dr. Warren Alinell.
Our last issue was this issue number 74, and that was issued at the end of last year, and the rate was approximately the same. We have not really changed the rate.
We'll allow Marlon to follow up with his question. Go ahead, Marlon.
Right. Some people may be curious as to find out with the change now in the limit, it's increased to 100,000. Could this be seen as a competition now to local banks now that the deposit rate has been removed?
Yes, you know, what we want to do to ensure is that the public is aware of the range of instruments. You know, the financial market, like all our markets, are intended to be competitive. So it is a competition to the commercial banks. The commercial banks are aware of that, just as credit unions are a competition to the commercial banks. It is all about a range of choice.
Thank you very much. Governor Lisa I saw a question. Oh, that was your question. Yes, Sean.
Hi, morning. Sean Cumberbatch from The Nation. In terms of the 74th issue, which was the previous one to this one being launched on June 1st, can you tell us what was the nominal value of that one? This one's going to be 10 million. What was the value of that one, and what was the response like in terms of investors?
Well, the nominal value of that one was 5 million. And based on, in fact, the response in the last 5 years, that previously savings bonds went in a flash. They were, in 1981 when we issued them, the issues were smaller, 2.5 million, but we sold them in a week. Recently, they were hanging around. So we did a study with Antilles economists and through focus groups with the banks and our bondholders. We recognized that we had a niche market kind of. There were a set of people that bought the bonds and the bonds satisfies them and they went on market and they went immediately. But these persons were now 35 years older. So if they started in 1981, they were 26 or so. They're now retired. So they don't really need a savings bond. They need an income stream. So if they were alive, a lot of them had shifted to long-term paper, treasury notes and debentures. And the young persons to whom we wanted these securities to benefit from these securities did not know about them, hence the campaign. So the demand for them had fallen.
Yeah, the short answer, Sean, is that is what has motivated this campaign. What the survey that Linnell mentioned revealed was that people were ignorant of the savings bond. The things that we have explained, we have pains to explain this morning, that they're as convenient and as liquid as your savings deposit. That is something that is, you know, as I said, it is the best kept secret in our financial system.
Any other questions? Of course, members of our studio audience, those persons who are not representing a media house are free to ask a question if you so desire. But I have one question. Right now, the sole agents for savings bonds are the commercial banks. Are we looking to expand the list of persons who can sell savings bonds, Dr. Worrell?
Absolutely. This is part of our ongoing campaign. As I say, we want to make it as convenient and as accessible. We have had a request from the credit unions. I know that they're interested. And once we get this first set of amendments and upgrades underway, that is something we will certainly look into favorably.
And Linnell, perhaps you can briefly explain to us how persons will receive that one certificate and how soon after he or she or they buy their savings bonds.
Well, previously, the savings bonds initially in 1981, the mode of getting them to the printed was the typewriter. The savings bonds were printed. The main text was printed, and then the name and the date of issue and the date of maturity, that was typed in. Through the passage of time, that became a very difficult process for some people. There was lots of spoilage because then we were trying to put them in and get a stencil to get them printed on a laser jet printer. And with the amount of certificates that were to be issued, that created some gridlock. And from our study, it showed that sometimes the commercial banks took up to 3 months to get the certificates back to the individuals. So we are proposing to print one certificate, and for the commercial banks to send in the information, the head office to collate the information from their various branches and submit it to the central bank within 3 days via VPN. And then we will print the certificates and return them to the commercial banks in 3 days. We propose to have a turnaround time of 1 week.
Thank you, Linnell. Joel?
Yeah, good morning. Joel Barfoot, Advocate Newspaper. 2 quick questions. The first relates to how can you prevent someone from buying multiple blocks of 100,000 each, given the fact that that is the new limit? And secondly, is it really a case that you're launching these bonds to promote greater savings and investments among Barbadians, or as a result of the shift in the interest rate policy?
You can see the first one.
Yeah, Linnell will take the first one, I'll take the second one.
Actually, we have also looked at our application forms. And on the application form, there's the question, do you have bonds in this series? So you should put in the amount you have, and then you can only buy up to the limit based on that. But in case that happens, you're also required to put in your ID number. And when it gets to the central bank, because we are issuing them, we will see before we issue them that you had already. And we will just refund you the amount of money that you paid for any excess over the 100,000 per issue. So we have put some safety checks in the system. So that is not going to be as easy as it was previously.
Dr. Worrell?
Yeah,
Sorry?
and
Never intend to, Dr. Worrell.
yes, and in relation to your second question, yes, the 2 things are related. I mean, I think that, I would have expected a question like that from you, sort of being the careful analyst that you are. But the maintenance of the minimum savings deposit rate was, in fact, as we said, a distortion in the system. And it was creating difficulties not just for the commercial banks, but for customers, because they were holding mortgage rates and other things artificially low under pressure from the demand because of that minimum savings deposit rate. So when it was removed, we wanted to be sure that the people who are going to be affected are aware that this better alternative existed. The alternative was always there. It was always something that, and I've been saying for a long time that, you know, we have really, I mean, it has been a mystery to me, actually, that, you know, our financial advisors and people who advise you on how to use your funds and so on did not themselves take the initiative to, you know, inform themselves about the savings bond. You know, it has always been there. It's no mystery. It hasn't been, you know, hidden from anybody. But even bankers didn't know about them. So when we realized how acute was the not even disinformation, lack of information, then we decided, you know, let us really, you know, make people aware of what the, you know, this investment opportunity that is available to them, and how simple it is. You know, you don't have to be, as I say, you know, to have a lot of money and to read stock market and learn how valuations and all this kind of thing. It is simple, it is predictable, and it is liquid.
Thank you very much, Dr. Worrell. Is there another question from the audience? If not, I have two other questions. Why did we increase the limit? Who's going to take that one?
Basically, we increased the limit because if it's just an economics thing. In 1984, salaries were a lot lower, and we thought that after 30 years, the limit should be increased, and persons were also trying to get around the system, as Joel mentioned. We're going to various banks and trying to beat the system by buying 50,000 from different branches, and hence we had to refund them the amount. Also, for pension plan investors, we had a problem where once you invest your pension plan, you sign a declaration form that you intend to invest in them for 5 years. But what we found, we issue all the savings bonds for pension plan holders, and savings bonds were never posted because of the big amount in the envelope that would cost us a lot. So you had to come back to collect them. And we could almost tell when people were ready to cash them in. Although they were pension plan holders, you will see this haste, they want their savings bonds. That's after they were there for 6 months. And then we could guarantee that in 3 days or so, we will see them being in cash. In those cases, we would write a letter to the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, tell them that those holders were in breach. But going forward, we are not going to do that. When we issue them, we are going to stamp in the corner, in the left-hand corner of the bond pension plan. And commercial banks are told that those should not be in cash. If persons really had an emergency and wants the money, they need to contact us because the withholding tax will be deducted. So going forward, printing them at the central bank, printing all of them, is going to be a much more efficient system.
And perhaps, Danelle, you should reiterate where those pension plan holders can buy their bonds.
All pension plan holders. Those are from, in fact, pension plan holders, full stop, come to the central bank. Because if they don't buy savings bonds, they buy treasury notes or debentures, which they can also buy. But what savings bonds provide is that savings, under the Act, they're supposed to hold it for 5 years to benefit from the non-payment of the withholding tax. And savings bonds provide a perfect match in that savings bonds are valid from 5 years from the date of issue. And hence another of our enhancements. Previously, savings bonds were known as Barbados Savings Bonds Series 2014-2019, indicating that that was when the life started and when it was end. Some people thought so. But in the Act, there were 5 years from issue. So when pension plans holders came to us, people with funds from pension plans, the process is that they bring the letter, so we see the amount. If it's under $76,000, most of them would buy savings bonds, right? Buy $50,000 in savings bonds. So they'll fill the application form, we issue them an allotment letter, which they take back to their pension provider, CLECO, well, not CLECO anymore, but Sagicor or ECLA Partners. And then they write the commissioner to say that they're requesting to pay the money to us free of the deduction of the taxes. When that approval comes, then they issue us the check and we issue the savings bonds, right? And in most cases, that turnaround time was a minimum of 6 weeks. So if the person came at the last quarter of, say, 2014 for issue that issue 2014, by the time we get the check, it's 2015. So the name on the savings bonds, the issue name would be 2014, 2019, and we will have maturing 2020. So we are taking away of that, and we have standardized the issuing of our securities, where government securities are known as, the treasury notes are known as GBT, Government of Barbados Treasury Notes. The debentures are known as GBD, Government of Barbados debentures. And savings bonds are going to be known as GBSB, Government of Barbados Savings Bonds. And then we are going to put the series number and the issue date, the issue year. And we are not going to close it. So we have got rid of that anomaly, because sometimes when people take the bonds to the commercial banks, some people are to offer them up as collateral, because they can also be used as collateral. People will say, how come 2015, 2020, and it maturing in 2022, felt that it was something illegal or whatever, right?
Well, thank you very much, Linnell, for that comprehensive answer to my question. And as you heard throughout today's proceedings, individuals have invested in savings bonds for more than 3 decades. You heard the governor's story, and now we share a corporate story with you. Corporations cannot buy savings bonds, but let us hear how Lime advises its departing employees to secure those pension funds of which Linnell just spoke. We have this video.
When our employees are exiting the business, one of the conversations we have with them is as it relates to the pensions benefits. Some employees opt to defer their pensions, while other employees opt to take their cash. Because some people may be unable to handle instant wealth, we advise our employees to purchase government savings bonds. This is a good return on investment. I endorse government savings bonds as a way of securing your future.
And thank you very much, Carrie-Ann. Thanks for that endorsement. And of course, thanks for joining us today. Carrie-Ann is seated up front here in our studio audience. That was an endorsement by a corporation. And now we have this individual endorsement by someone who's used savings bonds to build immense wealth, I should say. She needs no introduction. Rosemary Allen will tell you her story.
My story is that, like most Barbadians, I used to see the ad for savings bonds somewhere in the classifieds. And one day, a friend of mine said to me, you know, you got to buy some savings bonds. I was very reluctant. And I followed his instruction. And today, I can say that I know that government savings bonds, they are safe and they're secure. And really, they have increased my wealth because I use my savings bonds to purchase 2 pieces of land I used to pass almost every day. So this morning when I drove past, I said, well, government savings bonds, they worked for me and they can work for you too.
And thank you very much, Rosemary. I certainly don't have that, but hopefully within the next 15 years, perhaps, I would be able to drive past Royal Westmoreland or Port Ferdinand and say, my savings bonds worked for me. That's my condo, thanks to savings bonds. I now invite Sherry Bishop to deliver the vote of thanks. And Sherry Bishop has been, or let me say not has been, is a key member of our Savings Bonds Project team. Sherry?
Hi, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that we can all agree that we will leave here with a much more thorough understanding of how savings bonds work and about why they're a worthwhile investment for us all. Governor Worrell, thank you for your passionate championing of this project and for sharing your personal story as a bondholder. I'd also like to thank the other bondholders, including Rosemary Allen, for agreeing to be part of the campaign. Rosemary, thank you for sharing your story. Carrie-Ann Morris-Searle and Lime, please accept our sincere gratitude for endorsing savings bonds and for making it a company policy to share the benefits of investing in them with your employees. Tony Thorne, Thank you for agreeing to let us follow you on your savings bonds journey. I can't wait to see how it ends up. Julia Weeks and Debbie Briggs, we appreciate your support and your allowing us to harness the expertise of your staff. In this, I want to single out Linnell Franklin and Denisa Belgrave, who worked tirelessly to make the Savings Bonds program even more efficient and savings bonds even more attractive. Ladies, thanks a million. Elson Gaskin and Sadie Dixon, our legal experts, thank you for guiding us through the process of making the necessary amendments. Noveline Brewster and Arlene Mose, thank you so much for your guidance in making sure the public would be aware of these very timely changes to the Savings Bonds program. Thank you also Yvonne Paris and Alicia Bascom for stepping in whenever and wherever you were needed. I also want to thank the creative and technical experts, Blueprint Creative, Marnico Media, Matthew Williams-Rollins, and Erskine Hines for helping to make the visuals for the campaign as attractive as the product it is promoting. And finally you, ladies and gentlemen, both media and other guests, thank you for coming out this morning and for being part of the launch. Not that it's over yet. I'm just getting the formalities out of the way so that we can enjoy some of the promotions the campaign will offer. And there's still that giveaway that I know will make two people very happy. So with a final thank you to everyone involved, I'll hand back over to Noveline.
And thank you very much, Sherry. Sherry is a very hard worker, a dedicated team member, and one you can count on every time you call on her. So thanks very much, Sherry. You are in our debt. You heard earlier that the availability of savings bonds as an investment instrument was perhaps one of the best kept secrets in BIM. We at the Central Bank of Barbados, as you heard earlier too, intend to change this with a national campaign encouraging persons to invest in savings bonds. How will we do this? We will promote savings bonds in the traditional media and on social media. We will promote savings bonds through face-to-face conversations with various groups. We will promote savings bonds on our website, www.centralbank.org.bb. We will promote savings bonds through one of Barbados's refreshing, or should I say, best reality TV program that should be on air soon, featuring our own Tony Thorne, a young, very bright and talented Barbadian. And Tony is in the audience today. Tony, thank you. We will promote savings bonds with dramatizations like this one. Have a look.
Shanika girl, party's going so early in the morning and looking so intense too.
Kyla Morris, all you gonna do is stand in that veranda and mind people business. But if you must know, I go to the bank to put on this little money I get from selling by the primary school.
So why you can just put it now and left it? Why you don't buy savings bonds with the money? I just buy some of my bonus from work.
Savings bonds? Big girl, wanna what nothing so?
I really all wonder about you sometimes. Savings bonds are an investment the central bank does put out. You can make real money from investing in them.
Keep talking.
Well, you buy them for less than it's worth. That is called a discount. And at the end of the 5 years, you get the full value for them.
Oh, would that sound good?
Of course it sounds good. Well, it's safe. You know exactly how much you can get from the time you start. And it got a good interest rate too, girl. Right now, the interest rate is 5.5% if you hold it for the full 5 years. I only pay $760 for mine and that get me $1,000.
Anything else I should know about that?
Yes, the interest tax-free. And if you want to, you can cash in all or part at any time. My friend Patrick has been buying them for 30 years. He used part of the money to send his last daughter to university. He said it for everybody. The maximum you can purchase is $100,000, but you can start with as little as $50.
Well, I can manage that. So where let's go to get them?
The same bank you were going to, or any other bank for that matter. Just let the teller know you dare to purchase savings bonds.
All right, I'm going to get me some. I will choke you later.
All right, sweetie. Well, let me know how it goes here.
All right.
And thank you very much to our in-house actresses, let me say, Marsha DePradine and Lisa Brathwaite, and of course our scriptwriter and producer, our bank secretary, Elson Gaskin. That is how we will be promoting savings bonds over the next weeks and months in a simple, comprehensive, light and entertaining manner. And before we get to the successful winners of our quiz, let me acknowledge the president of, the president of BARB, Mr. Ed Bushell. Mr. Bushell, thanks for joining us today. I'm glad that you could be here. And now to the winners of our savings bonds quiz. And there were 3 questions that you were asked to answer. The first one was, on what date is the new series of savings bonds being opened? What is the total nominal value of the series? And what is the new maximum an individual can purchase? Those were the 3 questions. And I'm delighted to say that we have 2 lucky winners. One perhaps will be a new investor, or perhaps this person will be increasing his or her earnings or holdings, let me say. And the lucky winner from our in-house studio audience is Mr. Ron Johnson. And Ron correctly answered the questions. Dr. Worrell will make the presentation to Ron. Ron, please come forward quickly. And the answer to the first question was June 1st, 2015. The second answer was $10 million. And the third answer was $100,000. And Ron, before you go, is this your first holdings of savings bond?
Yes, that will not be last.
Thank you. And how do you feel to be a winner?
I don't win things very often, so I feel great.
Okay, congratulations, and we look forward to you reaching the $100,000 perhaps in this very first issue.
Sounds good.
Well, congratulations once again,
Thank
Ron.
you.
And the winner from the media, guess who that person is? The lucky person from the media is our nation reporter, Sean Cumberbatch. Sean, come forward. He correctly answered the 3 questions. And let me remind you of the answers again. June 1st, $10 million and $100,000. So, Sean, I am sure your story will be very accurate because you answered those questions correctly. How do you feel to? Yes, as usual, Sean. How do you feel to be a winner today?
I feel great. I've never won anything before.
And will you be building on your investment?
I will actually. I actually intended to invest in savings bonds regardless as if I had won or not. So this will be a good start.
Congratulations, and you can make your way to Linnell Franklin or any of her colleagues in the banking department, that is you and Ron, to open your purchase of savings bonds. Congratulations and all the best, and we look forward to further investments from you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And with that presentation, we have all but concluded today's ceremony. But before we go, let us remind you once more how you can own that car or acquire those pieces of land like Rosemary. Here we go.
Are you looking at that big ride? Or finally getting your own place but telling yourself,
someday?
Well, make someday today by buying savings bonds. You can start with as little as $50. And in 5 years, you'll earn 5.5% interest with your savings bonds. And the interest won't be taxed. And you don't have to keep your savings bonds for 5 years. You can cash them in whenever you want because it's your money. And best of all, it's safe. So, start saving today and drive off or move in sooner than you think. Visit any bank today or get more info at www.centralbank.org.bb. Savings bonds, a safe way to save more.